Hey guys, hello. Today I'm going to talk to you about the wonderful world of watercolour and gouache painting. I'm going to tell you about the supplies you need, how to start a little plein air practice, and the most important thing, how to keep the voice in your head positive so that you keep on going. As a painter, I started with watercolour, and I think the hardest, but it's the most hardest, but most rewarding art form, and it's so portable.
It's also the most portable and the most basic. So I'll tell you what you need. And yeah, even if you don't have much money, this is a really good way to start. So I've got the St. Petersburg little pan kit, and this is actually a mid-range. It's almost as good as Daniel Smith or the very best ones. It's really, really good. They come in little pans, which I recommend. All you need to activate it is some water and you'll paint straight away. And the thing with watercolour is you need to always leave the white as white. So you've got to kind of pre-vision how it's going to look, but that's not that hard. The second thing is paper. The best you can buy is Arches. And this is good. This is like a little travel journal. It's cold pressed, which I would say is good. It's between hot pressed and smooth pressed or something. And it's just the way it sort of holds the paint. But Arches is expensive. This is an example of where I did a bright pink kind of background. It looked really bad. So then I went over it in a navy blue. So it's got a kind of green tinge, but you can actually do layers in watercolor, which is like you can do in oil, which is really good. And that way the colors also, they can be transparent and can sit on top of each other, almost like cellophane, if you know what I mean. Some are transparent, some are obviously opaque. That's something you learn along the way. You get to learn your colors and you get to learn how see-through or not see-through they are. But yeah, back to the paper. A cheaper way of getting Arches is you can buy the very big pieces of paper and then you can slice them up. And paper does go off, I found. So, like this was a big Arches thing, and it feels really soggy, like it's almost like a cloth. So what you can do is keep it in a plastic sealed bag with these little absorption things like that come in tablet packets. Or even when you buy stuff online, like a vacuum cleaner had one of these in it the other day that I bought. So yeah, just pop it in that, and then you can just sort of put your paper. Often when I go for a walk, I'll just have my paper and a brush and some water in something like that. And this is a very good backup to Arches. It's a Chinese brand, Academy watercolor pad. You can get it on eBay or Amazon. And it comes in a block, so it's kind of stuck down with a little gap here that you then need like a pair of scissors or a knife or something to kind of peel it away, which is quite fun, but that just keeps it sort of stretched and perfect. And that's a lot more budget friendly. And I think if it's going to keep you experimenting and having fun, then go for the budget option. Don't get paper that's so expensive that you're too scared to use it, because you want to be just painting all the time, not worrying about the cost. Yeah, again, bigger. It comes in all sorts of different sizes. And this is just, I was just mucking around with a kind of portrait, and I thought it was horrible because I was trying to sort of work out skin colors and they were so dark, but watercolor dries very, very light, and then you can do another pass. So that's an example of when you think something's terrible and then you go, oh, it's not actually that bad. Self-talk, something I'll mention in a second. It's very important to keep going and talk to yourself in a way that's going to keep you going and keep you painting, and not say terrible things. Oh, I'm shit at this, I'm a bad painter, blah, blah, blah. I hear that again and again, especially from women. And I see so many older women who are just incredible, and they continually say, oh well, I've been doing this a long time, oh no, that's terrible, blah blah blah. They play it down, which is also an Australian trait, not to be a tall poppy, but just keep that voice in your head positive. And the fact that you're painting, that's all I want. I just want people painting, having a good time. I don't care about the outcome. And then if you make a mistake, there are options. This is a napkin. A napkin is always handy to have, and nice cafes often have really nice napkins, and they don't care if you take them home. So next time you're at a nice cafe, take the napkin. I've had this for like 2 years, and you just press it straight onto the paper, and if you get it nice and quick, it almost completely disappears. Another thing you can use is this is like a Chuck's thing for a kitchen, or this is a tiny version, and that it's basically the same. My dog bit this one in half, no idea why. But yeah, I don't actually use the Chuck's, I just use the napkin. And the best thing about watercolour is that I signed up for a watercolour class just because I wanted to do, I wanted to get painting back in my life. I didn't particularly care if it was watercolour or what it was. But the teacher would get us to meet her at a different location every week, and we would paint in plein air, which is plein as in P-L-E-I-N, and it just means outside, which is what artists traditionally try to do as part of their practice. And it's the best way to paint landscapes because you get the colour, you can kind of respond to the environment in a proper natural way. And at first I was like, whatever. But this plein air business, it completely changed my life. I can't tell you how amazing it has been. And I'll get more onto it soon. But another thing with paper is you get these little travel books. And basically everywhere I go, like this was sitting in the back of the car in traffic with a cool, valiant, old-fashioned car in front of me. And I just really quickly did this before the lights changed. But also when I travel, I stayed in my friend's little cottage, and that's since been knocked down in Palm Beach. It's nothing special. That's my dad just sitting at the computer. I just use 3 colours, 2 opposite on the colour wheels, always a good idea, brown and blue. Yeah, every time I travel, I just make a little sketch, and it goes into a part of your brain that is so different from everything else, and it's hard to explain how special it is. And these little travel books I make, that I just look at them and they prompt me to a time and place in a way that a photo never does. Like, I'm a photographer and I'm kind of, pictures are great, but we have so many. And like this one, it was just a rainy day at Palm Beach. I was looking out the car window. These 2 girls were building a sandcastle. I remember everything about how I was feeling, and I'd had a crappy morning, but this just, it's almost like a meditation. And again, like I was just doing these without pencils. I was just trying to paint, like use the paintbrush as a kind of pencil. That's just an eggplant at the kitchen sink. But I remember everything I was feeling, and how the process of painting and trying to see and trying to just translate colour and line onto a page, it's a meditation. There's no other way to explain it. And I think all I do in nature is I exercise. Like I walk with friends, or I'll go do a workout, or I'll walk through the bush, or I'll go surfing, but I'm always moving and I'm always on the go. And sometimes I'll try and meditate, but not for long. But this, if you can just kind of get down somewhere with a towel to sit on, and 10 minutes and your little kit, and you just pull it out, you dip your paintbrush into the water, and you can even just make a quick drawing in water onto the paper to sort of see what you're going to do, and then just start dripping bits of colour and watching it blend. And there's a kind of loss of control with watercolour. You can't exactly know what it's going to do, but you'll start learning the colours like they're your friends. You'll learn that, this one, I can't remember the name, but it makes such a beautiful beach sand colour, as well as the sky with the blue. And when it blends with blue, it doesn't make it green, which is very handy in skies. And so you'll start learning, it's called yellow ochre. Yeah, so you'll start learning the qualities of paints and what they do, and it's such a good skill to have, and that will transfer also into acrylic and oil. So they all have similar colours, and if they're see-through in watercolour, transparent, then they'll also be transparent in oil and acrylic, or if they're opaque in watercolour, the same. So that's really good to know if you want to do that layering like cellophane. And other times I haven't had time, like I went out on a jet ski and there were some seals at the lighthouse at Palm Beach. If you're from Sydney, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I just thought that was so incredible. So I took a photo, and this is what I painted from a photo. And you can also do that as well. But I highly recommend doing it without a phone. And these are like tiny little, this is so small. And I took this with me, that was up in Byron Bay. And I did another picture for the person that lived there, and they gave me half price on my accommodation when I gave it to them. So I thought that was so nice. And it was the first time I'd ever been paid for any type of painting, and it just was such a special transaction, you know. It made me feel really positive about being an artist, and they clearly appreciated having an artist stay with them. Yeah, and then this last year I was in Venice. It was kind of too crazy in Venice, so I took a photo and I painted this from a photo. And I have to admit, I'm guilty of using a camera often when I paint pictures, because often when I just look and paint, it's so wrong. Like my drawing needs to improve. But when I look at a phone, this sounds terrible, but I can just see the perspective quickly. Like I was doing a ferry on Sydney Harbour, and I was in my watercolour class, and everyone had done the ferry way too big in relation to the image. And when I took a photo and showed them, look, it's like, 2 millimeters, they kind of saw it. So there is a place for, if that's what gets you drawing and feeling better about your drawing, that's fine. But yeah, I kind of wish I could just look and see like my watercolour teacher does. She's incredible. But yeah, this was like a funny little car in Perpignan on the street. This was walking through the streets. I was trying to get that golden colour. I didn't succeed. But anyway, everything is remembered with these little books. So it's a really great thing if you're travelling. This is Sennelier. So I clearly bought this in France. And that's another thing, when you're travelling, whatever country you're in, you can buy the paints of that country. So yeah, I started with this St. Petersburg set, which is from Russia. And then I was in England, so I bought Winsor Newton because it's so much cheaper there than it is here. The student brand is called Winsor Newton Cotman, and that's also good. And then some people buy the watercolour tubes like Danielle Smith, and then they pour them into the little pans, and that's also a really good way. The watercolour, it goes hard, and then you just activate it with water. But it seems that people that have more of a long-term practice have done that. So if you're just starting out, I would say buy these little pans. And then I went to England again, and then I got this Winsor Newton set, which has a little thing to hold it when you're outdoors. And this is very handy because you can mix everything there, and then you can keep your brushes in the middle. And I quite liked that there was more of a colour selection, but I think that can be a bit overwhelming in the beginning. But here I am speaking to you like you're all beginners. You're probably not. You've probably got a bit of a clue. And then this is Caran Dache from Switzerland, and this is Gouache, and it's incredible. I'm kind of jumping the gun here, but Gouache is like a mix between watercolour and acrylic. It's its own thing, but it can kind of look like more matte, like acrylic, but then you can also get the beautiful translucency of watercolour. And you've also got the added bonus of adding white, which will make everything more pastel-y and light, and you can add in white for the highlights, whereas watercolour you can't. It's more tricky. You've either got to leave the paper blank where it's going to be white, or some people come in at the end with a bit of gouache white. So that might be something nice to add, but you want to be using a different brush with the gouache because, and not mix it with the watercolours, because it has different properties, and I think it can taint the watercolour. But yeah, I've been doing more gouache lately, but it's very similar, and it can have, you can use it on the same paper and everything like that. And then I've just got some water. You can either, this is good because you spray it to kind of waken up the paints, and then I just dip my brush in there, or even just a tiny little like makeup thing, and I've just got the water. The amount of times I've been like on a plane on a long flight, and I just open this and do a little painting. It's so fun. And then I've got all my little paint brushes. You really only need one. I've gone a bit nuts, but this, I think the Winsor Newton came with the kit, and then this is like a little travel bullet brush. So you put the little top on it, and that's cool. That's all you need to start, a little bullet brush. It's expensive. I think it was $50 because it's made of actual squirrel hair, which I didn't know at the time. But you can buy synthetic ones now, but I think it's Kolinsky Sable or something it's called, and it's also from Russia. But yeah, you can just fit them often in your little thing, in your little box. Oh, and what I was going to say about traveling is you can buy these individually. So when I was in France, I think I went into a Chavin art shop, or an art shop that was selling that, and they had the most incredible indigo blue, and I just bought one little pan. And I've done the same in Japan. I've bought, I can't remember the brand, but I bought a pink, and that was incredible. And so you can just, what's the word, plump up your art colours as you go if you're travelling, and buying the brand from that country. Obviously Italy is exciting, France is exciting, England. Yeah, in Australia, I can't remember what brands we have, but it's always nice to buy the brand of the country, and it's always nice to support your local independent art shop and not buy from Amazon or, you know, one of the big kahunas, unless there's no other choice. Like, I know this Chinese art paper, I couldn't find it anywhere else. But yeah, and then this is just a little Faber-Castell sepia pen. And sometimes it's nice to do the original picture in like a sepia pen, or just a pencil, or a little art line. That's a calligraphy pen. They're really, really fine, tiny things. Or this is just like a little pacer pencil. Yeah, and then there's different brushes. Like this is a tiny mop brush, and mop brushes that are big are good for sort of covering big areas. And then I've got, this isn't watercolour, but it's just very, very tiny, just for like perhaps a few little highlights in the eyes or something like that. But that's all you need. And then just one of these little things. This is some painter's tape. I've just got a strip there. You can reuse it, and it's really good for like a straight horizon or something like that. Yeah, and this is an example of something I did down at the beach. And I really liked the colours, I liked the softness. I tried to do it bigger in acrylic and it didn't quite work out. But yeah, that is watercolour. Let me know if you want me to talk about acrylic and oil. But for now, I think I need a cup of tea.
Especially when we're in the sauna, once you sort of equalise, how nice.
What are you doing?
If you live in a place that's very, very, very cold for a very long time, to get uncomfortably warm once a week or so. And then the Finnish woman who was basically like us.
So guys, just remember, next time you want to say something is really crap that you've done, replace it with, that is totally freaking awesome. Case in point, totally freaking awesome.